height. So that means that as I draw, I'll start with the circle that makes up his face. See the little belly button right there? I'm going to lock my wrist. Everybody put your hand up. Lock your wrist. Let your shoulder roll. And we're going to go around about 5, 6, maybe 10 or 12 times. See that? Now then, that's low because I got to add that ice cream cone to the top of it. There we go. Just went around that, and very, very lightly. I don't want, this to show up in the final reel. Okay? Let's go ahead now. That's about that tall. Perfect. I can take this just about all the way up. In fact, before I do anything, I'm going to bring a straight line so I got a yo-yo on my page. Okay? So now I got a yo-yo. From the top of the string, though, I'm going to go down until I touch this side of the top of the circle, and likewise over here. Does that look pretty even, Stephen, on both sides? Close enough. There we go. Now then, that brim of the hat is going to cut across his face at the top just a bit. So I'm going to kind of bring that curve down just a little bit further. Okay? This is a big, heavy hat. And of course, it's full of magic. On the ends of that, right here, put 2 parentheses. Okay? And then bring that across. You're going to hit the brim of the hat. Who's been to see Mickey's Film of Magic across the street? It's all about the magic in this hat. Right? Okay. That's looking pretty good. I got the basic shape of that. Now I'm going to leave that alone, and we're going to start working on his face. Now, my original circle, where's the middle of it? It's right about here. I'm going to put a crossing guideline going right through the middle of my original circle there, including the part that I kind of peek down into. Now, halfway between this line right here and this line right here, I'm going to say that's right about here. And halfway between this one and this one, I'm going to say that's right about here. And I'm going to draw in 2 circles that are about half the size of that one. The hat is in front of them. So once I get that basic circle in place, let's see here, right about here, I'm just going to keep it behind the hat. Any accessory, whether it is a hat like the one he wears at Steamboat Willie, or if we're drawing Minnie Mouse, the famous bow, the bow goes in front of the ears. Okay? There's the basic shape of it. Let's start drawing in that fabulous face that we all know so well. I'm going to start right here underneath this line, and dead center, I'm going to draw in a nice sized grape for Mickey's nose. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and make that the first thing that I lock in and make a permanent part of my drawing of Sorcerer Mickey. This 1940 classic Fantasia was built a bold experiment that pushed the boundaries of what animation could do. But for many of the film's standout moments, probably the most famous is this one, the most traditional. Right? Let's go ahead, and halfway between the nose and the side of his face, I'm going to put a tick mark, and one halfway between here and there, and how about halfway down? And when you grab on and connect the dots, you're going to get a wonderful smile for Sorcerer Mick. There we go. There we are. Let's go ahead, since that smile is so big, it's got to be pushing up his cheeks. He hasn't run into any problems with any moss yet. There we go. Now, we're going to open his mouth. When you open up a character's mouth when they're smiling, we call it a laughing smile. It's joyful because he's thrilled that it's the 4th of July. You're all here with us. I'm going to draw a letter U that's about as wide as his nose that comes down from that smile. It's so big, it's breaking right out of the bottom of my circle just a little bit, and I'm going to bring the sides of it up and out like this. Now, Mickey, before Fantasia, and just a little bit before that even, he was always drawing those solid eyes, right? Like the way he looked Steamboat Willie. But for just before this film came out, the year before, one of the great Disney animators, bringing this tongue now, okay? So there you go, a hill going to the center guideline. Let's add another little hill to the other side. Freddie Moore was a great, great Disney animator. And he knew that Mickey needed to start being more expressive because Fantasia was not going to have any dialogue. So it was going to have to all be told through the characters' actions and emotions. And they knew that they could get a lot more emotion if he had eyes that had pupils in them. So Fred came up with a design. They used it first in a short cartoon called Mickey's Surprise Party. That came out just a year before Fantasia. It worked out real well, and so that's how they drew them in this classic. Now, underneath his tongue, this is called following the studied line. See the curve right here under his tongue? I'm going to draw it again just a little bit lower. And in doing so, I have given my mouse a chin. Like that. We're also going to give him that character mask. Now, people go, we're going to put a mask on? Check it out. There's the beginnings of Mickey Mouse. Here he is, pretty much the way we're drawing him today. But all through his history, he has this area that surrounds his eyes. That is called a character mask. To get that started, let's go to this line. It's going across. And I'm going to come in just so that I'm right over his smile. Right there, right there. And I'm just going to curve back and down a little bit. Let's do that over here, too. Okay? And then grabbing onto that, I'm going to take it all the way down to his chin there that we just drew a moment ago. So I got a candy cane over here. That looks pretty good. Fill that up. Clean it on up a wee bit more. And we'll do the same thing over here. The Sorcerer's Apprentice was just the beginning of this idea Walt Disney ended up calling Fantasia. He had a friend who wrote the music for The Sorcerer's Apprentice. It was just going to be another Mickey Mouse cartoon short. But then Walt said, you know what, wouldn't it be fantastic if we took great pieces of classical music like this one and did animated sequences to them? What a wild idea that was. Let's go ahead now. What should we do next? I guess we should go ahead and finish off that character mask. Now, if we were seeing the top of his head, we'd see a little widow's peak up here, but we're not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab onto this, and we'll just keep it simple. I'm just going to curve until I'm kind of like right under this ear. That's looking pretty good. And I'll do the same thing over here. There we are. Kind of even on both sides, I think. And we can go ahead and just lock in the side of his face, going up to the hat brim too. Looks good. Lock this in. Now over his nose, we're going to get a snout line. That is a thin, single line rainbow that goes from one side of his nose to the other. And that just shows that his nose is coming towards us a little bit. Okay? His eyes are surfboards. Right? Mickey, he was born right over there in Burbank. Him and Minnie love to go down to Newport. They grab their boards, they get down there, they find a sand dune that looks like this one right here. Mickey will put his surfboard in that sand dune. Minnie, of course, wants to be as close to Mickey as she can, so she'll put hers right here. There you go. And then it's cowabunga. There we go. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and lock in those peepers. Fantastic. Did you know, does anybody here know what the name of the sorcerer in this film is? Yensid. Explain why. Because that's Disney spelled backwards. Yensid. That's the name of the sorcerer. There's some Disney trivia. If you guys are ever on Disney Jeopardy, they say, what is the name of the sorcerer? Little and big. There we go. Let's draw on his pupils now. His pupils are lower inside, right here. And I want you to notice that as I draw these, my pencil goes completely around. If you were to draw just like a half a circle there, you look cross-eyed. I don't want that look. So I'm going to go ahead and take my ovals all the way around a few times. and make them dark because you want them to stand out. There we go. Okay, got that. Let's go ahead now and work on the hat and the ear. Let's bring that across. Get everything locked in over here. There we go. Fantasia, man, think of that movie. And then, of course, years later, because Walt Disney always intended to kind of make Fantasia an ongoing thing, that every few years there would be another version of it with new sequences, and then using some of the old original sequences that people liked the best. So when they finally got around to it about 60 years later, in 2000, and when they released Fantasia 2000, the one sequence that was there that was in the original was the Sorcerer's Apprentice, of course. Everybody's anyway, actually, you ask different people that have seen this movie, you go, what's your favorite? And you hear all kinds of different answers. I'll tell you personally, my favorite is the Dance of the Hours. That's the ballet with the hippos and the elephants and the alligators. That is so fantastic and so much fun. Really funny. Years ago, I'll tell you, I went to a retrospective of Disney classic animated films at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. And at that time, a lot of the great animators were still alive, and they were there, talking about what went into making this amazing film. And they showed several sequences from it. Of course, they showed The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and they showed my favorite, The Dance of the Hours. And I'll remember that audience in that theater, right in front of all those great artists that actually drew so much of this film, just going absolutely crazy. It was so exciting because you're thinking, man, the men and women that made this movie are in the room to hear us just going crazy for their fantastic work. You don't get that opportunity very often, right? Super excited. Let's go ahead and add some details to that hat. There's a big moon right in the middle of it. Just like that. And we'll see some stars. Let's see. What I like to do is I'll very lightly draw a complete star here. Even if it's kind of disappearing, then I'll just darken in what is inside that cone. It's outside. Let's put, here's a point of the star. Maybe there's this little foot sticking in there. Maybe we can get one more in here, just kind of peekaboo. That looks pretty good. Now then, how are we doing on time? Ooh, running along. Gotta do it though. Turning my pencil sideways, I'm gonna really put the pedal to the metal and darken in those areas. And you can see I got this method where I turn my pencil sideways like this, and you get a lot of ground, and you get a pretty smooth tone. And then don't forget, not just the ears, but those little bits of his character mask off to the side of his eyes. There he is, Sorcerer Mickey. I am going to go ahead and sign my magical mouse right over here. You know, the name Disney is synonymous with magic, isn't it? And I think Sorcerer Mickey epitomizes the magic of Disney.